Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to SAVE, a TV show that's brought to you today by Citizens Against Family Violence. I'm Jessica Plasters, the Patrick County Victim Advocate.
And I'm Sandy Dawson, the Martinsville and Henry County Sexual Violence Case Manager and Victim Advocate.
All that.
Yes, all of that.
And with us today, we have a very special guest, and we're just going to get her to introduce herself and tell us about her role in the community.
Okay, and I'm Joan Rogers, and I'm the director at Patrick County Department of Social Services, and I have been dealing with child abuse and neglect for over 32 years.
Wow. Thank you
That's a
for
long
being
time.
here with us
Thank
today,
you.
Joan.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. So you said you've been dealing with for 32 years, so I know that you've seen a lot of cases, worked a whole lot of different cases, and handled a lot of different things. What would you say would be a best approach to working with children who are sexual assault victims?
Okay, first of all, children need to feel secure. They need to feel safe. And so that's one of the most important things when we have a disclosure on child sexual abuse. We make sure that the child can remain with the family, the child will feel that they are safe, and that the abuse is going to stop.
So if the family is the perpetrator, if someone in the family or in the home is the perpetrator, then there's a different approach that's taken as far as with Department of Social Services.
Yes, we ask we ask the court to remove the perpetrator from the home.
Right.
Why victimize the child and remove the child? The child has done nothing wrong.
Right.
It is the adult that has abused the child, and we ask that that adult
Leave.
be, court ordered out of the home, and a protective order is usually entered that the person cannot come within 100 feet, cannot have contact with the child. And those are kind of the safeguards that we immediately put up.
So have you found, in working with the kids, what's probably one of the most prevalent problems that occurs within within these reports?
Once a disclosure is made, no matter what the age of the child is, often what we find is that the abuse, it's generation after generation.
Right.
And we can, if we ask the mother, what was your childhood like, we find that the mother was probably sexually abused. Therefore, when the child's disclosure comes to the forefront, a lot of the issues that the mother never dealt with, all of a sudden those feelings surface for her, and she is dealing with her child sexual abuse that happened maybe 10, maybe 5, maybe 8 years ago. And even though that parent, the non-perpetrating parent, has been abused, often it's very, very difficult for that non-perpetrating parent to believe that their child has been abused. They may believe the child that day, but 2 or 3 days on down the road, often that non-perpetrating parent will ask, do you really think that happened? Do you think the child is telling the truth? Often children that disclose, they're re-victimized simply because all of a sudden maybe the family is doubting whether they're telling the truth about what has happened to them. Also, they may see that if it's the mother that's the non-perpetrator and her boyfriend or the father has had to leave the home, she is distraught. Child sees them crying because they missed that person, they want the person back in the home, or they're saying, I don't know how we're going to pay the bills because they're out of the home. Child feels very guilty. Oh my gosh, because I said what I said, my mom is just very, very sad.
Like,
it's
what have
my
I done?
fault. It's my
They
fault.
start blaming themselves.
My fault. It's my fault that the person sexually abused me. Therefore, the child is re-victimized again. Often, and it's very common for children, because of the guilt that they feel, they will, in a couple of weeks or maybe a month down the road, will say to us, oh, that really didn't happen.
Right.
Or I just want this to stop.
Or I
Try to get
want
the
it to-
family back
yes,
together, so.
Yes. And so it's just very, very hard. Child sexual abuse, there's a lot of dynamics involved within the family unit that
Right.
we have to look at. So you not only treat the child, you need to get the whole family involved in maybe family therapy.
So when something's reported to y'all, that y'all continue to provide services?
We immediately begin referring families out to needed services. I mean, we immediately do an assessment. We look at the strengths and needs of the family, and then we hook the family to whatever needed services that we know of that can help the family get through the abuse and neglect
Right.
situation.
Oftentimes with that type of situation, you mentioned family therapy. You know, we have limited resources in the Martinsville,
Correct.
Henry County, Patrick County area.
Most definitely.
So we, you know, definitely try to utilize who we have available. Oftentimes that includes us, Citizens Against Family Violence. It includes Piedmont Community Services.
Yes.
And the other mental health service providers who are available to do therapies. But oftentimes still, that may not be enough. Case by case, we may have to refer out of town, as you know, to places like in Roanoke or Greensboro, depending on where they live. But just to get some additional services that may not
Right.
be provided here locally.
Right. And often these services are not covered by health insurance. Therefore, if the Department of Social Services has the resources, we will help. But because therapy is so expensive,
Yeah.
we are limited to what we can do also.
And as you had said when we were talking earlier, that, you know, oftentimes for families, that becomes a very difficult process
Yes.
because of lack of resources within the home, may not have transportation, may not have the money to afford
Correct.
therapies. That's one of the benefits with Citizens Against Family Violence, that even though we're not a licensed therapist, we still can provide some counseling, and all of our services are free and confidential. So, you know, that's an added benefit for the families to be able to have those services available to them.
And you also have groups.
Right.
correct? And often individuals do so much better in group. They
That's the
realize,
one they can relate to
oh, they
also.
can relate, and oh, it happened to them, and kind of normal, even, you know, they can normalize it for them because they feel, oh, yeah, I'm not the only one in this situation. This happened to this individual also. So the group work often is very beneficial to families and individuals.
Right. So have you always worked in Patrick County or been in other areas?
No, I've only been in Patrick for 9 years. I've been in Henry Martinsville area, DSS, Montgomery County for many, many years, Pulaski County. Prior to that, a county in Ohio.
So you've seen a lot of different
A lot of
type of areas.
Yes, yes. And then I started back in the 70s. So I've seen, you know, we've changed our approaches as to how we're working with families.
Most definitely.
And the one big approach now is you keep that child within the family system. We try to avoid placing children in the foster care system.
Because something happened to them, you know, that
Well-
that makes them feel like they.
Right,
Did
and,
something
and,
wrong.
and family is usually very committed to children, and children do better within the family unit. So I know in Patrick, we only have 1 or 2 children in the foster care system right now. We're very fortunate to be able to find families, extended families, even sometimes they're out of state, but we hunt them up and try to see if they are able and willing to provide a home for the children that we do need to remove from the
That's
situation.
really good.
That's really good.
So when you have, I know specifically in Patrick County, you all work really closely with the Commonwealth Attorney and
Yes.
with the SART team.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we have a team for any crimes against children that are considered felonies. The Department of Social Services immediately calls the Sheriff's Department, or the Sheriff's Department calls us. We go out as a team to interview the child, to interview the family members. The Commonwealth Attorney is very much involved in every step that we do, providing feedback, guidance. All of us are very supportive of one another. Our Commonwealth Attorney is very committed to prosecuting child abuse and neglect in our
Most
county.
definitely.
So we're very, very fortunate that we've all gone to trainings together. We have been trained to do forensic interviews.
That's what I was going to say. I'm part of the SART team, and I know the CPS workers have been to that Child First training, and a lot of times during the sexual assault interviews that that they do at the actually advocacy center there in
Yes.
Patrick County, the CPS workers do the interviews, and then they're able to continue working with the family, which makes that great because that child starts a bond with that interviewer that day, and then they continue to get to see them. So that probably works really well for the children, especially when they're
Yes.
smaller too.
Helps with the comfort level as
Right.
well.
Oh, yes.
And they build a trust there with that person, so that's great.
Yeah, and our workers are very committed to working with the children and the families. And as I said, as soon as we make that initial contact, they're immediately assessing the strengths and needs. Okay, let's build on the strengths, and if there are needs, let's refer out to the needed resources, whether it's to you all or Piedmont Community Services. We just access those services and do what is best for the child and family.
Right. When you are, if you were to give advice to families that all of a sudden are faced with this type of situation, what would be like some things that you would recommend or to say to families that might be dealing with this?
Okay, and we encourage families, even if there's a concern or a doubt, you call us. You know, there's a social worker on call 24 hours a day, every day of the year from our office. And, you know, call us, talk over your concerns with us. If it's a valid complaint, we will initiate the investigation immediately. But we encourage families to call, ask questions, and we will kind of direct you in the right direction that you need to go. The Department of Social Services only investigates from a perpetrator that is in a caretaking role.
Right.
A non-caretaker, we immediately refer to law enforcement. But we will still make sure that that referral is made, and then if law enforcement will ask us to, can you assist in the interviews, of course we do.
So from the perspective of Child Protective Services, what you're saying is that you all are primarily involved when it's involving caregiver roles.
Yes, it has to be, the perpetrator has got to be a caregiver.
Okay, so that caregiver may not be a parent, might be a babysitter,
Correct.
could be a grandparent.
It could be a grandparent, aunt and uncle, any adult that's residing in the home, school teacher, Sunday school teacher, anyone that's been
It's
entrusted
overseeing
with
the child.
overseeing
as the
that child.
responsibility role.
Or if the child's sibling, like we have a 14-year-old sibling babysitting a 6 or 7-year-old, and during that time they're babysitting, they abuse the child. We
That
are
would be a caregiver.
Yes, we investigate that.
Okay, so if if a child is reporting sexual abuse, let's just say from a friend, that is not necessarily a Child Protective Services
No, but we would
area.
immediately hook them up to law enforcement. We would help because the parent is distraught, like, oh my
Right.
gosh, I think this is, so we'll sit down, talk to the parent, walk them through the process, probably refer them to you, and to law enforcement. And the main thing is to keep the child safe,
Right.
to stop the abuse from occurring over and over again.
Would you say that I'm sure that there's a lot of cases that are just especially upsetting as a worker, but do you find that more cases are handled that there are good positive outcomes, or are we leaning more towards still we have, I don't know,
In 30 years, you've probably seen a lot of different cases.
I'm not exactly sure what I'm asking, but I'm wanting, Are we being successful with the work that we're doing? From a DSS perspective, are we seeing declines in numbers?
No, and
or-
I think that's a good question. My concerns are I keep seeing it generation after generation after
Yeah.
generation. So we're not stopping the cycle of child abuse and neglect. It's generation after generation after generation. So that bothers me.
Yeah.
That bothers me. Often, yes, we're successful in stopping that particular abuse,
Instance.
but often victims are re-victimized again by another individual because their self-esteem, very low self-esteem,
Or low self-confidence even.
low, and often in child sexual abuse, I mean, you have mental health issues, you have all sorts of things that can happen. I mean, children don't do well in school. If you don't do well in school, you don't receive an education. What's going
There's
to
a lot of
happen?
effects on
No,
that.
there's a lot of effects. I mean, school dropout rate is high for children that are abused and neglected. Severe abuse and neglect, I should say. You know, you drop out of school or you cannot complete an education, you're going to be in that poverty level because you cannot become gainfully employed. So these are the things that we're looking at, and we're trying to help children remain in school, encourage education. We're encouraging preschool programs, and we're trying to help families become better equipped to deal with the issues that they're dealing
Right.
with now.
Yeah, I know that one of the things that we do in our prevention program is to educate the children at the school level.
Yes, and
to
that's-
help
yes.
them to understand.
Because a lot of stuff
What-
they see at home, they might think is okay because it's
Well,
normal to them.
It's normal.
So-
They have no idea that until you tell a child, no, this is wrong, they think it's normal and that it happens in every household.
Right.
So yeah, education immediately within the grade school system of good touch, bad touch, very much
Exactly.
needed.
What's appropriate, what's inappropriate.
Right.
Yeah. My mind slipped on what I was going to ask next. I had a thought in my head.
Now, the social
ahead.
workers with CPS will continue to provide ongoing services until the cases may be closed out. Is there like a period of time where the case is eventually closed
No.
out, or just to when they feel that this family
We
has?
do it based on the needs of the family.
Okay. Yeah, because I've known some of the cases to be open longer and stuff
Than
to just
others,
abandon.
yes. It just all depends on how the family is doing, and we just kind of gauge it to the needs of the family.
Well, that's great.
I remembered my question.
All right.
If we would give advice to anyone watching of things to look for,
Okay.
if they were to say, what are some of the signs
Okay.
to say that something may have happened to my child?
Okay. For instance, if it's a young child and they have inappropriate behavior, sexual behavior toward other children, well, your flags should be up. Where did they learn this?
Right.
Or if they have knowledge of sexual behavior way beyond their age, your flags should be up. If the child all of a sudden has been making good grades and all of a sudden they are struggling, okay, what has happened to cause my child
be
to
in
go from an
focus,
A,
yeah.
B to a D, F student? What's going on here?
I think sometimes their disposition too. They may be acting
Nightmares.
out.
Acting out, maybe physically abusing other siblings, abusing pets. You know, that abused, neglected children do that along with children that are in domestic violence homes, and they're seeing a lot of severe domestic violence. They're going to react in the same behavior, a lot of nightmares. I don't think people realize how severe it is for children to come out of homes that domestic violence, child abuse, neglect, substance abuse, and it seems like these are the major issues we're dealing with in Patrick and Henry Martinsville.
And a lot of times they're all tied in together.
They're all tied
unfortunately.
in together. You have a mental health issue, you drink to cope with your mental health issue. well, that's not going to solve the problem. It's only going to compound the problem.
Right.
And that causes a lot of times domestic violence to escalate, and a lot of times child abuse is tied in with that, and then it's
It's just a snowball effect. And so, so I think that's why the departments, both in Henry Martinsville and Patrick, were very, very busy.
most definitely. I know that it's
And
definitely
you
a lot
guys
of
are
cases.
busy. I asked you when we came in, how are you doing? You said you were busy. I said, well, that's not a good thing. We don't want you all to be busy.
Right, and we don't want you all to have to be busy either, but, you know, as much as we like to say that we want to be employed, we would love to find happier ways to be employed. But, Joan,
a
we
lot of
really
kids.
appreciate your
Oh, well,
being here
thank
with
you.
us and talking with us.
And we appreciate you all. I mean, I want the public to know that often we call you at midnight or 1 in the morning to say, we have a family, we need to get out of a situation. You're always there to help us. And so I thank you all.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you. Well, it's really nice having you on the show today, and we're going to take a quick commercial break. So thank you.
Well,
And-
thank you for having me.
All
All
right,
right,
we'll
thanks,
be right
Joan.
back.
Martinsville and Henry County. If we love this place, let's keep it clean.
I'm standing in between some great Jeep Liberties. For those of you who don't know, they have a very stocky body style. We've got some great colors here. We've got rescue green, we've got white, we've got cherry red, black.
Hi, this is Wes Mills with Jim Mills Nissan and Jim Mills Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep. I'd like to invite you to visit with us. We have no games, no gimmicks. We stand behind our vehicles, we stand behind our service, and we stand with our community. Come visit us at 4760 Greensboro Road, Ridgeway, across from Martinsville Speedway.
You're watching BTW 21, your neighborhood network, the pride of Martinsville and Henry County.
There are many reasons to choose Monroe Muffler Brake and Service for all of your car's maintenance, repair, and tire needs. We work on your schedule with convenient evening, Saturday, and even Sunday hours. We've earned our customers' trust with over 50 years of guaranteed quality service. And one more popular reason is Monroe's oil change and more for only $19.99. Plus, we'll rotate your tires, check tire pressure, and inspect your brakes for free. Trust Monroe to keep your car and your family safe. For dealer quality service for less, it's Monroe Muffler Brake and Service.
El Norteño in Patrick Henry Mall. Come join the fun at the largest Mexican restaurant in Martinsville.
Hi, my name is Ronald Bennett, and welcome to Family Pharmacy. We're located on 58 outside of Danville at the Brownsville Station. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 6 and 9 to 2 on Saturday. We have a drive-through service, and we fill all prescriptions. I'd like you also to meet our store manager, Stan Leggett, and our lead technician, Jordan Bailey. Come in and take a look at us. We're a small pharmacy doing big things.
Hi, I'm Emily Aaron, the new face on BTW 21. Join me for the weekend review on your neighborhood network.
We need your help keeping Martinsville and Henry County clean.
Hello and welcome back to SAVE. Again, I'm Sandy Dawson with Citizens Against Family Violence. We've been going over the healing journey for the last few weeks, And last week they covered step 5, which was writing a letter to your abuser. And what was pointed out was that you're identifying what they did to you and putting in a letter expressing how you feel, what it did to you, how it makes you feel now, but then letting them know that it was not your fault and you were letting this go back to their responsibility. Then choose the right delivery method. You know, you might, it might not be appropriate to give it to them in person. Maybe it's just something where you need to vent and express all of your emotions. The person may also be deceased, may have moved, or you don't know where they are, so you may not be able to deliver it. The process is not necessarily about the delivery, but it's primarily about writing the letter and putting the responsibility back on the abuser. Step 6 that we're talking about today is breaking your silence. And now that you've had time to write your story, which was step 4, and writing the letter to your abuser, now it's time to read your story out loud. And you want to do this because it's freeing and empowering. So you might read your story to a trusted friend. Ask the friend not to criticize or to judge you, but just to listen. And if you don't have anyone to read your story to, read it out loud to yourself. Oftentimes just hearing the words, hearing your voice say the words of what happened becomes a powerful tool in your healing process. And by saying that, you're breaking the silence. So you stop blaming yourself and you put the blame where it belongs. So even if there were things that you could have or should have done differently, today is the time that you choose to make that life-changing decision that no one else is in control of your life. That event that happened is not in control of your life. So you're making the decision that you're done living in the past and you're moving forward. So you want to stop running from the past, stop letting that destroy you and mess up your future. So you can let what happened make you bitter, but the better choice is to let it make you better. When you remain silent, you're protecting that abuser. When you become vocal, then you can begin to heal. So we really appreciate your being on the listening and watching our show. We'll be back again next week with another special guest, and we'll be sharing the next step on the healing journey. Thank you and have a great day.